The latest from our daily newsletter at podnews.net. An old friend is back. Apple Podcasts has brought back the refresh feed button. While Apple seem confident that new episodes and other changes in your podcast feed are now seen within a few hours, they've also restored the ability to refresh a feed faster within Apple Podcasts Connect. That feature was removed earlier this year. And on Friday, in case you're wondering, the Apple Podcast Connect system was checking Podnews' RSS feed every 8 minutes. What's the alternative, though, to refresh buttons and repeated checks for updates? Podping, decentralized push notifications for podcasting, means that new episodes can appear in podcast apps within just 45 seconds. Part of Podcasting 2.0, Podping has been running for the past 6 months for more than 200,000 podcasts and claims to fix a lot of practical issues with WebSub, a similar service. Dave Jones writes more about Podping, which we link to in our show notes and our newsletter today, especially how podcast hosting companies can support it with just one line of code. The pre-installed podcast player Samsung Free on all Samsung Galaxy smartphones is to be launched in Europe. Acast is a launch partner. Podfest China was held recently with a full report and pictures from the day in Shanghai. It was announced there that NPR's podcast startup guide will be published in a Chinese version, and podcast host and app Himalaya revealed that it hosts 23,300 podcasts, with more than 5,000 added so far this year. Magellan AI has announced a free way to get podcasts in front of ad buyers with Magellan AI verified downloads, so shows are searchable by Magellan AI's clients. You can add your show now, and PodLP, a podcast app for the Kai OS operating system, has released version 2.1 with a sleep timer and rewritten download system. And thank you to Matt Kundle, who noticed yesterday that I didn't know how to pronounce DAZN or D-A-Z-N or D-A-Z-N. Apparently it's DAZN, because of course it is. And in People News, Palak Forbes has been hired as Senior Vice President, Digital Business Operations at Odyssey. She was with the New York Times. And Molly Wood is to leave APM's Marketplace Tech. She's to become an investor and podcaster at Launch with Jason Kalkanis. And you'll recognize Molly Wood's name, of course, from 2005 to 2012. She was host of this, Buzz Out Loud, CNET's podcast of indeterminate length. Oh, it's been a while since I've heard this. And in podcast news, Black Box is a new sci-fi fiction podcast that launches today with a powerhouse cast including Joe McHale and Kelsey Grammer. Produced by Reverb, we're told the podcast brings high-octane storytelling and blockbuster energy to the audio space. And Apple Podcasts is promoting The Stoop from Radiotopia as their spotlight show this month. The podcast brings race, identity, journalism and creativity together in one place. And that's the latest from our newsletter. For all the links, we're at podnews.net.